situation where I live at. Yes, sir. If you can track the phone down from where it's at right now, you'll know where I'm at. The situation is, I had somebody, come in and try to rob me and all kind of things. Please, can you send somebody here?
That was a 911 call from missing person Juan Santiago. And you can hear he's pretty upset about something. He's saying that he's just been robbed. There's some other stuff that goes on. We're going to reach out to one of my new true crime friends and find some more information about what's going on in that call. And of course, go through all the available information and see if we can help this family figure out where he is. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Juan Santiago. Welcome back to Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. And we have a heck of a case to close out 2020. We've got this person, Juan Santiago, on the left, missing. His girlfriend on the right, deceased. What is going on with this case? Let's start getting into it right now. Starting with Wikipedia, the disappearance actually occurred in San Antonio. Now, Juan is actually from Massachusetts, from the Chelsea area, but him and his girlfriend decided they were going to move to Texas. They landed in San Antonio. Were there less than a day when that 911 call happened, and then no one knows where Juan has been since. The city of San Antonio is the 7th most populous city in the United States and the 2nd most populous city in both Texas and the southern United States. It has over 1.5 million residents as of 2019. Now, a lot of cases we cover here, sometimes where we don't have big populations, I get worried about tips. How much talk has happened around this case, how many people are out there able to hear some of that and maybe have some piece of that information. Here, we're talking about a lot of people in that area. Can we really shake out the tips? That's what we're going to try to do in terms of raising exposure to this case here on Searchlight today. Let's go over to NamUs. Thankfully, there is a profile for Juan already created here. We can see he was 35 years old at the time he went missing. He is currently 36 years old, missing from San Antonio, Texas. Date of last contact here, they have it listed as June 22nd, 2020. And I'm kind of hearing some different things on that. I'm hearing June 19th. I'm hearing June 20th. That date is slipping around a little bit on the coverage as I've seen it. Juan Santiago looks like has no middle name. He does have a nickname. He goes by Juanchito. He is a male Hispanic standing at 5'10" to 5'11", weighing about 145 pounds. For circumstances on his disappearance, we see that date of last contact, June 22nd. NamUs actually has a case created fairly quickly, just within a few weeks of that. He's missing from Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas. For the circumstances, not much. And it looks like his family might have actually started this profile. My nephew was last seen leaving a Motel 6 in San Antonio, Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. And of course, we're going to bring up some maps and check that out too. For hair color, brown. They're noting that it's also short, brown, and curly. He does have a mustache. Here in the photo, he's actually got a beard also, but they're not noting that. Here in the facial hair description, they're just saying mustache for the time that he went missing. Brown eyes, does not wear glasses. For distinctive physical features, not much. So one of the aunts of Juan Santiago and the mother to Juan's children was interviewed by Jason Hebert over on his channel. Of course, I'm going to have a link to that in the description box down below. I've been talking about Jason on my channel recently. I'm very impressed with the work that he does. We did a collab on the Echo Lloyd case that we covered. But they also noted, he asked them specifically, so we've got no tattoos, no scars, nothing. For distinctive physical features, we really don't have anything on Juan Santiago. They did note that he was always wearing a cap like a ball cap like this, and it would typically be representing something from his home state. So like here we've got the Celtics hat that he's wearing. Clothing and accessories, kind of interesting to me. We don't have a description here. His girlfriend, it seems, is there when this is actually occurring. So I don't know. We're going to get some description as we get into the news stories on this a little bit, but for solid clothing description, we don't have anything listed with NamUs. Transportation, no information entered. For images and documents, they've only got this one photo that they're using for the main profile shot. Contact information, of course, I will have in the description box below. And this is kind of an interesting case because we have Juan being from Massachusetts. So the Chelsea Police Department is actually the ones that have his missing persons report on file, but we have him missing from San Antonio area. So San Antonio PD also obviously somewhat involved with this case as well. I'm going to have contact information down below for both because it kind of depends on what's going on with this case. If you want to talk about the missing persons investigation, the primary contact they're showing here on NamUs is for the Chelsea police. So that's down there. But if there's something else that's going on with this case, if we are looking at a foul play situation, which we're very concerned about, particularly with the details of this case, I'm going to have San Antonio Police Department's Missing Persons Division. I'll have that down below also. But I also saw one post that put out their Special Victims Unit information in relation to this case. So I think even they're aware something else might be going on with this case. So I'll have that contact information down below as well. Jumping over to Facebook, Juan's last post we could see was made on June 1st and is a picture of him as a child. Looks like he's wearing a Masters of the Universe top there. But that's about it. I really couldn't learn a whole lot. I could see he went to Everett High School, lives in Chelsea, Massachusetts as of what this Facebook profile says. Like I said, he went to Texas. He was there a day when this happened. But I really can't find too much more information here about him. Let's get to the details of the missing persons case, starting at MSN.com. Police in Texas are asking for the public's help finding a Massachusetts man who has been missing for a month. Juan Santiago, 37, was last seen June 20th in San Antonio. 37, did I note? Yeah, that's interesting. Even his age seems to be slipping around a little bit here. Authorities said Santiago traveled from Massachusetts to Texas with a friend to find employment. It's possible the Bay State native may no longer be in Texas, police said. We can't rule out that foul play was a part of his disappearance, said Alicia Pruneda, public information officer for the San Antonio police. And of course, when you have a 911 call, like we heard at the start of this episode, you certainly can't rule out foul play. You've got the guy basically calling and saying, hey, I was just robbed. And then all of a sudden he goes missing. He went missing from a Motel 6. This is the Fort Sam Houston Motel 6. You can see there's a few Motel 6s in this area, but this is the correct one, I believe, based on information that came from that interview over on Jason's channel as well. So let's just take a look at the satellite view here. Just kind of looks like an industrial area, a lot of businesses around. Quite honestly, I think for cameras, and that's something interesting. I don't know what time that 911 call happened. We'll see if we can get that information as we're going through the articles again, but I don't recall bumping into that. However, if he did leave the Motel 6 on foot on his own, I'd be very surprised, particularly if he came north and then went east or west on this main road up here. There's businesses here. There's a McDonald's, there's a Jack in the Box, there's a Whataburger, there's other hotels, a pawn shop. I think there's a lot of cameras on this road. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't picked up on some camera here, but we're not hearing any reports of cameras picking him up anywhere. Of course, there's also kind of this side road that's running along the Interstate 35 here. I don't know that there'd be as many cameras there because we do kind of there's even a place called Industry Park Drive. It's a very industrial area down here. It looks like a bunch of transportation containers. Yeah, it gets a little tricky heading south, but if he's going east or west, particularly on that main road, Rittiman, I'd be really surprised if they didn't pick him up on camera. Let's continue with just another little segment of the 911 audio. I'm not going to play it all here, but the link that I have to Jason's channel down below is actually keyed up right to the start of the 911 call. So you can go to that video, you can listen to the 911 call. It's most of it. There's been some light editing that's been done in terms of time and curse words, but it's most of the call. I want you to check it out at Jason's channel. So I'll have that link in the description box below, but there's one aspect of this call that we need to hear right now.
Sir, can you hear me? I had to run for my life. Okay. Call me back. What's the description of the female? I'll just keep you in my pocket. What's the description of the female, sir? Hello?
So basically, he just said, I had to run for my life. And you can hear the 911 operator keeps asking him for a description of the female. He's not very clear. Obviously, I've listened to the whole call a few times. And Juan isn't being very clear about who is after him or who has robbed him or who has attacked him. The closest thing that happens in the call is at one point, the 911 operator is kind of asking if his girlfriend is there. The 911 operator keeps driving towards, is this a verbal dispute? Are you arguing with someone? Is it your girlfriend? So he does get the idea from Juan that this is related to his girlfriend in some way. And that's why even in that little clip you heard, the 911 operator keeps going back to, can I get a description? Can I get a description of your girlfriend? This total call is 4 minutes in length. You've got him saying he's robbed at the start. You've got him giving some details about this seems to be related to his girlfriend. Then he literally puts the phone in his pocket. A bunch of this 911 call is just the inside of his pocket rubbing against the phone as he's running. He then gets to a point where he can get back on the phone and he says, I just ran for my life. So big concerns here, a lot that's going on. But I'm also concerned about the fact that he's keeping the phone, he's connected to 911, and he's not really giving them any details in terms of who's doing this, a person's name, a description. Is this, did a man just come in and hold up a gun to you? That level of detail is just completely missing from this call. There's a strange thing that I feel in this call where I feel like Juan is on the phone trying to be obvious that he's talking to 911, and he's doing that to try to stop what's happening in the room or to try to in some way intimidate the other people that are around him, because he's not being very direct with the information with 911. And he's got a lot of time. You're talking 4 minutes. That is a ton of time for passing that information, and it's just not coming across. Be very curious to see if you guys think the same. So please check out that link below, listen to the call, come back to the comments and let me know what you think about it. And don't forget, while you're there, you can also watch this whole interview. There's a lot of what I consider social information that I typically don't go into on the first episode of Searchlight when I'm covering a case like this. Jason kind of lives in that arena. And quite honestly, that's why I like working with him, because I think hitting it from both angles, me kind of the more official reported information and Jason kind of the more social Facebook aspect of the information. It's going to give you a really well-rounded view of the case. So after you're done with today's video here, use that same link, jump over there, pull the scrubber back all the way to the start of the video. And if you've got an hour, you're going to learn a lot more about this case. Over at boston25news.com, let's get some more details. We just want to find out the truth so we can bring my nephew home, said Marilyn Rosa. She and her family have not heard from her nephew, Juan Santiago, in nearly 8 weeks. We know the outcome of finding my nephew is not good, and we are beginning as a family to accept that. Recently, Santiago and his girlfriend moved to San Antonio, Texas, so he could find work and the two could start a new life. There's something about that is just tickling in my brain, and it's because of the Brandon Lawson case, another case from Texas. Interestingly, Brandon also starting a new job days after he goes missing. And a big aspect of that case that's been discussed has been human trafficking. Was Brandon taken possibly over to Mexico to be used for his skill set of being able to work in oil fields? I just want to throw that out here because we have Juan going to this area in particular, kind of under the, at least things that his family is hearing is that this is under some type of arrangement where there's a friend that's going to help him get a new job of some kind. So I just want to kind of introduce that as a possibility. I know human trafficking gets way overexposed in missing persons cases. It's not always the answer, but when I do specifically hear something like that, I mean, he's going there for a job and then he winds up disappearing, I think we have to be open to that possibility. On Sunday, June 20th, Santiago's girlfriend called his family, telling them Santiago was gone. After she made that one call, we started questioning her about what had happened, said Rosa. She said, he left with no shoes on. He took my wallet, my purse, and he left. And we don't know where he's at. Then she called back and said, I need $500, crying hysterical. Now, this information is coming, it's someone else quoting what she said, so it's hard for me to hold every word of it down. One thing that's calling out to me is that use of we, that we don't know where he's at. I would love to know if she literally said the word we, or if she said, I don't know where he's at. Yeah, it could be that when Rosa's retelling this story, she's including herself as part of this group, and that's why it's turned into a we. I'm just wondering about that because I'm wondering about the possibility that his girlfriend knew someone else that was there, something along those lines. And some of the information that comes out in the interview over on Jason's channel, you know, it's something that their family is considering too. Is there possibly some friend or family member of the girlfriend's that might have been involved in this as well? And then you get this aspect with her asking for money. I mean, essentially there's now a story that he took her wallet, her purse, and then ran away, not wearing any shoes. So she needs money from his family. And according to them, the amount of money actually changed. She was calling different family members, asking for different amounts. Things get a little strange around this request for money. Now this case is taking another tragic turn. Santiago's girlfriend returned to Massachusetts last week, intending to speak with Chelsea police. But over the weekend, she suddenly died in the hospital. Santiago's family suspects she took her own life. This is very strange because honestly, she gets back to Massachusetts. I think it's about a month after he disappears. So she spends a bit of time there. Why is she not talking to investigators? I don't know. I don't know if maybe she did talk to San Antonio PD already. But if you return to Massachusetts, I don't know what's the hard thing about getting in contact with the police if you have some information to share with them. And I looked into Facebook information for her as well. She has several profiles on Facebook. One of them in particular looks like she kind of put out an effort of trying to raise a little bit of awareness to the fact that her boyfriend was missing. But that's about it. And when people kind of asked her or suggested things for her to do, there was just like no responses, no replies at all. So I don't know what's going on. And obviously we won't know what's going on with her at this point because of how this story took this turn. There's a lot of questions even about the aspect of her taking her own life. Supposedly she had told some family or friends that she was struggling and she needed to check herself into the hospital. Then she gets in the hospital and within a day of her being there, she's no longer with us. So how exactly does that happen if she did put herself in a ward that was specifically supposed to make sure that she was okay because she was concerned about her own safety? I don't know. There's a lot of bizarre angles to this story. But back to his Aunt Rosa, it leaves us with zero information. It has shut us completely out. We know we're not bringing him home alive, but we want to bring him home so we can give him his final burial. Where is Juan Santiago, and what really happened to his girlfriend, Christina Mock, who suddenly died before she could talk to police? I always like pointing out when reporters are kind of going the extra mile. Bob Ward, I think, is doing a really good job on this case, kind of digging below the surface, reaching out to people, speaking to more people, and really helping to raise information that might be helpful in understanding this case. So I just wanted to say I appreciated his work on this. Sarah Colmax is the mother of Juan Santiago's 2 teenage children. She believes the truth might be slipping away. I don't think we're going to get all the answers unless there is somebody else involved, Colmax told me. I think there's a chance that there is someone else involved. I've kind of touched on that a little bit already with what I'm hearing in that phone call, how long that phone call is going on, and then kind of even taking this story from his girlfriend that he went running off. I mean, it's weird. He's calling 911 and saying, I've been robbed, but then he's taking her purse and then running away without his shoes. A lot of bizarre things that are happening around here, and I would not be surprised at all if there was someone else that is part of this equation. Juan Santiago vanished from a Motel 6 on June 19th, about 12 hours after he and his girlfriend, Christina Mock, took a train from Boston to San Antonio, Texas. Juan told his family he had a friend in San Antonio who could help him land a job so that he and Christina could start a new life. When Sarah found out Juan was missing, she flew from her home in Florida to San Antonio to look for him. Christina Mock came too. Sarah claims Christina first told her that Juan was suffering alcohol withdrawal and was experiencing hallucinations, and that he ran out of the hotel room. But later, Sarah heard the 911 call, and now she suspects Christina knew more than what she was saying. I felt betrayed. I wish she just told me the truth from the beginning. Christina's family has questions too. A close family member told me that Christina told him Juan was suffering alcohol withdrawal on the train, even before they got to Texas. On July 13th, Christina Mock wrote an emotional birthday message to her missing boyfriend on Facebook, saying in part, I miss you more and more every day. I love you so much. But 2 weeks later, Christina was gone too. On July 26th, Christina Mock unexpectedly died at Melrose Wakefield Hospital the day after she checked herself in. Another search for Juan Santiago in Texas is being planned. In the meantime, if you have any information about what happened to him, please call Chelsea Police, according to this article. So I haven't found any information to actually support that he was trying to stop drinking, even in the interview with his aunt on Jason's channel. And by the way, the mother of his children is also in that interview. I didn't hear anything from them that he was actually trying to stop drinking. As a matter of fact, they said that he liked to drink. That was, and maybe he even liked to drink too much. Kind of interesting to me that he would make a decision like that in the middle of, hey, we're going to move, we're going to go to this new state, we're going to find new work and start a new life together. I mean, maybe it was part of the new life, but I wanted to learn a little bit more about this possibility that he might have been having hallucinations from alcohol withdrawal. And it actually turns out that it is certainly a possibility. Healthline.com. Alcohol withdrawal delirium, AWD, is the most serious form of alcohol withdrawal. It causes sudden and severe problems in your brain and nervous system. An estimated 50% of people who have an alcohol addiction will experience withdrawal symptoms if they abruptly stop drinking. Symptoms of AWD usually occur within 3 days of stopping or decreasing alcohol use. Just a few of the symptoms that stick out to me for this case in particular: anxiety, confusion, delusions, excessive sweating, fever, hallucinations, and increased startle reflex, an exaggerated reaction to unexpected stimuli. That one in particular, when I listen to that 911 call, I'm wondering about that one the most, even more so than the hallucinations. Maybe there's stuff that is really going on in that hotel room, and maybe his reaction to it is a bit bigger because of the withdrawals that he's going through, perhaps. I don't know, but I was pretty surprised to learn that, yeah, it's a very serious thing to go through alcohol withdrawals. Once again, I haven't bumped into any information, even in the official information or even in the social information that Jason has kind of collected to suggest that he was actually going through withdrawals or that he had some reason to stop drinking. I don't know. Continuing at Boston25news.com, some more work by Bob Ward here. The whole thing has been a whirlwind of unanswered questions, Lauren Mock, Christina's sister-in-law, told me. Christina died before she could talk to police about what she knew happened in San Antonio. Now, as much as I appreciate Bob's work, that statement, I just don't understand it. I don't understand what took her so long to talk to police. There was a month before she checked herself into the hospital and she died. That's quite a bit of time. Kind of the same way I don't know what happened in that 4 minutes of not being able to relay the information about the true threat that was going on to Juan. A month to not be able to relay critical details that could help in him missing seems really excessive to me. And we've got Christina essentially going with his ex to help search for him. Like at no point we couldn't have gotten on the phone to be interviewed by a detective or something. I don't know what's going on with this. And let me be clear, the family is also very frustrated. They think that law enforcement hasn't been working this case very strongly, and this might actually point to some of that. It's a very normal thing. I just want to point out, very, very normal thing for a family to be frustrated with a missing persons investigation. But maybe there's something to it when we're seeing something like this. I mean, the person that's last known to be seen with him, and she hasn't been interviewed by the department that's actually leading the investigation at this point, a month after. Back to more information from Christina's sister-in-law, Lauren. I've been racking my brain about this for the last 3 weeks, really since he's been missing, but really since she's been gone even more so, trying to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together, Lauren Mock said. She tells me that she spoke to Christina soon after Juan disappeared. When I first got the initial call, I just felt like something was up, she said. She said he was having alcohol withdrawals and had a really high temperature. My opinion, he needed a hospital or something, she added. Once again, really high temperature. If we look at that list, that's why I kind of highlighted some of those other points. Excessive sweating, fever. It's in there too. Now, that's not to say that if something else happened and Christina needed an excuse, it's a Google search to learn about what those symptoms are and then to start citing those to your family. I mean, that's unfortunately, hearing that some of the symptoms line up is not a cornerstone for really proving this one way or the other in my mind. Lauren is sure Christina had nothing to do with Juan Santiago's disappearance. People are capable of anything, but personally, the type of person Christina was, I honestly don't see that, she told me. She's also hurting for Juan's family. Everybody just deserves some type of resolution. If we can be of any help to Juan's family, call us to let us know. None of this is fair to any of us. We're all in this together, Lauren Mock told me. And there's an interesting aspect to that comes up in Jason's video as well, where several of Christina's family members show up and they're adding comments in the chat. And one of them is basically saying, hey, please call us. Let's get connected on this. Obviously, Juan's family is very hurt, wondering what the truth is in all this and thinking that Christina might be a very significant component in what happened to him. So I don't know that they've really warmed up to the point of being able to open up to Christina's family at this point. It might have happened. This information, Jason's videos from August, a lot of this information that we're looking into today is months old at this point. So things could have certainly changed. One of the more recent articles from Kens5.com, posted October 24th, 2020, shows us that the Santiago family is now facing what a lot of families in this position do, hearing about remains being found and then wondering if that's their loved one. A Boston area family is anxiously awaiting for a ruling from the Bexar County Medical Examiner. They want to know if human remains found 1 week ago in a northeast side park are those of their missing loved one. Juan Santiago came to San Antonio with his girlfriend in June to start a new life. Within 24 hours, he made a frantic phone call to 911, and afterward, he vanished. Santiago's aunt, Marilyn Rosa, said hearing the panic in her nephew's voice was beyond disturbing. When I heard the call, it was clear and evident that he was in distress, and he was fearing for his life, she said. He was being robbed, and he was running for his life. Those are the last words we hear from my nephew. I am running for my life. Rosa said the family suspected trouble immediately because the woman who was with Santiago told a number of different stories about what had happened. They said that when these stories started to unravel, the girlfriend was admitted to a hospital and died under what they call mysterious circumstances. With no clues to go on and living half a country away, the family turned to the internet and the power of social media for help. We put everything on Facebook and people started reaching out to us, Rosa said. That's how we got into contact with Frank Trevino. Trevino is a San Antonio volunteer who devotes countless hours to searches for missing people. He reached out to the family after he learned about the body being found in John James Park on October 17th. Something that is very concerning about this discovery can be highlighted with this map. From the Motel 6 to John James Park, we're talking 1.2 miles. Very, very close proximity. So, of course, very big cause for concern. And if I was in Juan's family, I would be looking at this and saying, I mean, the odds are that it could be him. We might have found him. Police said a person walking his dog near the park entrance reported what they thought were human remains. The initial report lists them as being badly decomposed. Days later, the medical examiner ruled the bones were those of a human, but they've said little else about the case. Rosa said she reached out to the coroner. They asked me questions about my nephew, and a lot of the demographics fit the profile of my nephew, she said. Rosa said the investigator told her they believed the bones belonged to an older male. That did not match because my nephew just turned 36, but all the other demographics matched, she said. She added investigators told her they had been contacted by a number of families looking for missing persons, but the advanced state of decomposition complicated the quest for answers. Rosa said they have provided dental records to see if a match can be made. Trevino went back to the park to look for additional clues. He went with a metal detector, searching through the soil for a diamond stud earring that Santiago was known to wear. Unfortunately, he did not find that. We are begging. We want closure. We want to bring my nephew home, Rosa said. Please come forward. Please contact the police and let them know what you have seen. We are desperately looking for answers, and we just want to lay him to rest. So you can hear it very clearly from the family and how they're talking about this case. They don't expect Juan to come home alive, unfortunately. And that's a little bit counter to at least what the investigators were saying to them very early on. There was kind of an assumption that, well, hey, maybe he took off. I mean, that's kind of what we're hearing from the girlfriend. He grabs her stuff and then he goes running off. Is it possible that he fled, left to a different state, he could have even headed for Mexico from there? I don't know that that's what we're looking at here. That 911 call sounds like someone that's very distressed. And then having this twist with what happened with Christina, something is very, very wrong in this case. And it's tough because this family deserves answers. Does someone out there have it? That's really what I'm wondering. If this is really just something that happened between Juan and Christina in that hotel room, if Juan isn't with us anymore, we're never going to know what that was. The best thing we have is that 911 tape to try to understand it. So it becomes a very, very tough case when you're talking about the main person that you want to talk to is no longer there. Christina's gone. We're not going to get that information. I'm really hopeful that one of the investigators in San Antonio at least interviewed her. Maybe that information is actually in the police file and we just don't know about it. That's kind of what I'm hoping. But I don't know. It's tough. Now, off this update is from October. I'm not seeing anything else for news updates. I don't know if those remains actually turned out to be Juan. But what I am seeing is more of this ride. And this is a ride these families, they just go through over and over and over until they eventually find their loved one. From the Facebook page, Help Find Juan Santiago, they have a post there, and this was literally just posted in the last day, about remains that were found near Salado Creek, skeletal remains, once again in the area. And if we go ahead and bring up a map on this one, we're talking 8 miles away, a little bit more distance than the first set, but it's heartbreaking because this is what the family lives with. On the Help Find Juan Santiago page, we have a post from his aunt. Since my nephew Juan's disappearance, I must say this has been the worst feeling I've ever felt, and it does not subside. It's such a helpless feeling because there is nothing you can do about it. Just waiting for the unknown. Each day that goes by has been a struggle. He's the first and last thought on my mind every day. We'll not stop looking for him until he returns home. Please continue to have my nephew and family in your prayers. Help bring him home by continuing sharing. Thank you for your support. I did also find a few discussion groups on this. A Reddit thread, and Web Sleuths has a few pages of chat going on about this case as well. Let's go ahead and start a discussion thread of our own in the comments down below. And I want to hear from you. What do you think is going on with this case? What are some important next steps that the family can take? And if you would, please help support them. If you are on Facebook, I'll have a link to their Facebook group down below. You can help follow that. I think right now they have just over 600 followers. They're coming up on 700. Let's see if we can get them a little more support over at the Help Find Juan Santiago Facebook page, where of course you can keep up to date on any new developments, any efforts that they're doing. I don't know with this one. It's so strange. The twist with Christina just, it puts a huge stopping block in terms of understanding what's going on with this case. And I understand the frustration that Juan's family is going through, and I understand that it's really tough for them to decide to try to partner up with Christina's family. But if I was in this situation, anything that's going to help get me towards the answers, I'm going to try it. And I'm wondering if at some point they might be able to actually maybe team up with each other and help try to understand this better. Because I understand from Christina's family's point of view as well. They're probably wondering what the heck happened. You know, their loved one is now gone also. A lot of grief that's happening for both of these families. So I hope that there's someone out there that can really help them. And if you're that person, please do the right thing. Find it in your heart to pick up the phone, use those contact details that I have in the description box down below, and help both of these families with their pain. This is just, it's terrible at so many different levels. If you don't have the answers, you can still help. If you know people in Texas, please share this video with them. Let's raise the exposure. Let's make sure that everyone out there knows about Juan's story, and maybe that will get to the person that has that critical piece of information. So please share with your friends and family in Texas. Before I end today's video, I want to thank new patron Ruby Coggill. Thank you so much for joining on Patreon. And a big thank you to Jennifer Ramirez and Julie Meckham for increasing their pledges. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com. There you can sign up for Patreon, PayPal, or buy merchandise. All of it helps keep me here, always with limited commercials. You'll notice we never run commercials in the middle of our videos, trying to help these families in these terrible situations. So I really appreciate your support on that. Take care, everyone. No episode of Brainscratch this week. It will be back in January with full force. But we do have a new case cracked coming for you. And this weekend, a new Crime After Crime is also being released. So more content. Hope you guys will check it out. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.